Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. In today's video, we will be talking about Tafkhim and Tarqeeq. So Bismillah, let's go ahead. In terms of learning outcomes and what we want to get out from this video, we want to get 4 main points. The first is to understand the meaning of Tafkhim and Tarqeeq. The second point is to associate Tafkhim and Tarqeeq as the outcome or the result of isti'la and istifal. The third point is to recognize the action of the tongue and the epiglottis when it comes to Tafkhim. And the fourth point is to identify the letters of Tafkhim and Tarqeeq. So Bismillah, let's get into the details. So in the last video, we spoke about isti'la and istifal, the two opposing characteristics for letters. And this is an important introduction into this video. So we said isti'la was about the direction of sound, where the direction of sound is towards the upper palate, or the sound rises upwards or is elevated upwards. So we said that was isti'la. Now, what does Tafkhim have to do with isti'la? Now, if the sound is rising and going upwards towards the upper of the palate, what happens is it goes up towards the upper palate, and the upper palate is domed. So it hits the upper palate and reflects back. Reflects back as in an echo. So an echo occurs, and that echo fills the mouth, and that is the mechanism of Tafkhim. So that echo that fills the mouth, that's Tafkhim that gives the letter the thick sound or the heavy sound. So we say that Tafkhim is the outcome or the result of isti'la. Tafkhim is the outcome or the result of isti'la. So stepping back, isti'la and istifal are characteristics of letters which are to do with the direction of sound. And then as a result of the direction of sound, as a result of the sound going upwards, hitting the top, reflecting back, causing the echo, the result is, the outcome is Tafkhim or Tarqiq. So the outcome of the sound reflecting back is Tafkhim. So this is a couple of slides to explain Tafkhim pictorially. So if we take the letter Qaf, we say Qa, and we said that the direction of the sound goes upwards, so the sound rises towards the top of the palate. So you look at the green arrows here, the sound rises towards the top of the palate, hits the dome of the palate, and then reflects back. It reflects in the form of an echo, and that is the sound of Tafkhim that comes out with a letter. So the direction of sound going upwards is the isti'la part, so that's the characteristic of the sound of the letter. Those arrows or that direction of sound going upwards is the characteristic of isti'la. The reflection is the outcome, the reflection, the echo is the outcome, and that is Tafkhim, or the thickness that you hear with the sound of a letter. So Tafkhim, once again, is the result or the outcome of the isti'la. It's a result or the outcome of the rising of the sound towards the top of the palate. And in terms of practically what happens as well within the mouth with Tafkhim, there's 2 main points that happen with the tongue and the epiglottis. The first is the tongue is cupped. The tongue is cupped. You see that red marking there? That's the cupping of the tongue. And the other one is around the epiglottis. The epiglottis is moving backwards and narrowing that area. And here's a comparison between the Qaf and the Kaf. So when you look at the Qaf, Qa, direction of sound is upwards, as we said before. It reflects back, that causes Tafkhim. And when you look at the tongue is cupped. The tongue is cupped. And the other part is the epiglottis. You look at the epiglottis with the Qaf, the epiglottis moves backwards and narrows that area. When you compare it to the Kaf, you see the epiglottis there, it doesn't move backwards. So within Tafkhim or with Tafkhim, the tongue is cupped and the epiglottis moves backwards towards the back of the throat. And that helps the Tafkhim sound come out and make the letter thick or heavy. So some other letters, as example, we say Kha, Kha. You see Kha, the sound is going upwards. That's isti'la, the characteristic of isti'la, the sound going upwards. Kha hits the top, reflects back, causes this echo, fills the mouth, produces Tafkhim. Kha, so we don't say kha, which doesn't have tafkhim and doesn't have isti'la. And ta, similarly here, with the ta, the direction of sound is upwards towards the upper palate. It reflects back, causes an echo. Ta, you get that tafkhim, the thickness or the heaviness of the letter ta. On the other hand, tarqiq is the thinness of a letter. So it's when a letter doesn't have this echo that makes it heavy. So we say ta, we don't say ta. We say ma, we don't say ma. You see, there's no echo with the ma, ta. And that's because the sound doesn't go upwards, it doesn't reflect, it doesn't cause this echo, which eventually is tafkhim. So the sound descends. So tarqiq is the outcome of istifal. Tarqiq is the outcome of istifal, where the direction of sound descends downwards, there's no echo, and therefore tarqiq occurs. And with tarqiq, the tongue is not cupped, and the epiglottis doesn't move backwards and towards the back of the throat. So these mechanisms that are there for tafkhim don't exist within a letter that has tarqiq. Now the next question to answer is which letters have tafkhim and which letters have tarqiq. To start, if you remember that we said isti'la is where the direction of the sound is upwards towards the upper of the palate. So with isti'la, the sound is always going upwards. Therefore, all the letters that have isti'la have the sound going, or the direction of the sound upwards. It reflects back, it causes this echo, so it causes tafkhim. So all the letters of isti'la have tafkhim. Khussa, ضغط, qid. However, with the letters of istifal, which is all the remaining letters, 3 of them could have tafkhim or tarqiq, depending on the scenario they come within. And that's the alif, the lam, and the ra. So you would recognize that sometimes we say ra, tafkhim, thick ra. Sometimes we say ri, tarqiq, thin ra. At the same time, the alif mad, we say sa, thick alif, and we say ta, thin alif. And we'll talk about that in another video, Insha'Allah. So 3 letters of istifal either have tafkhim or tarqiq, and the rest of them are always tarqiq. They're always light, they're always thin. And here's a diagram to clarify the letters that have tafkhim and the letters that have tarqiq. If we start there on the left with the letters of isti'la. The letters of isti'la being khussa, ضغط, qid. Now these letters are always heavy. They are always heavy. Now we move on to the right side, the letters of istifal. Now the letters of istifal can be divided into 2 categories. 3 letters, the alif, the lam, and the ra, are sometimes thick and sometimes thin. So they are sometimes have tafkhim, heaviness, thickness, and sometimes they are light and thin. So they are muraqqaqa, depending on the scenario they come within. And all the remaining letters of istifal are always thin. So the ta, the mim, the kaf, you say ta, ma, ka. So the remaining letters are always thin. So the only letters of istifal that are either thin or thick are the alif, the lam, and the ra, while the rest are always thin. So let's summarize and tick off those learning objectives once again. The first one was to understand the meaning of tafkhim and tarqiq. So we said tafkhim is when the sound of a letter goes towards the upper of the palate, it reflects off the dome, it causes this echo, this reflection is the echo, fills the mouth, and that is tafkhim. Tarqiq is when that doesn't occur, and therefore tarqiq is when the letter is thin and not heavy like tafkhim. The second point we wanted to tick off was to associate tafkhim and tarqiq as a result or as an outcome of isti'la and istifal. And how we linked that is we said because the sound of the letter goes upwards in isti'la, the result is the reflection, the echo, and tafkhim. So tafkhim is the result of isti'la. And the third point was about the action of the tongue and the epiglottis. And we said the tongue is cupped and the epiglottis moves backwards towards the back of the throat and restricts that area. And that causes, or that's a practical sense to how tafkhim comes about. And the fourth point was to identify the letters of tafkhim and tarqiq. we said that all the letters of isti'la, خص ضغط قض, all of them have tafkhim all the time. However, with the letters of istifal, which is all the remaining letters, there's 3 letters that can be mufakhama or muraqqaqa, which is the alif mad, the lam and the ra. And the remaining letters of istifal are the letters of tarqiq, so they all have tarqiq. That's the end of the video for Tafkhim and Tarqeeq. We'll see you in the next one. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.